All right, so we are going to start chapter 11, and I think this chapter is going to take on a similar structure than our earlier chapters in geometry with the investigations, etc. Not so much the area and volume chapters that we had been working on. So let's take a look at our warm-up. So we have what's called a proportion, right? A proportion is an equation that states two ratios are equal. And you can solve a proportion in a lot of different ways. One of the quickest ways to solve a proportion is cross products. And that's when we multiply the numbers in the diagonal together. Let's see, I'm going to have to do a little bit of math here. And then, how you want to solve it from here is up to you. I would divide by 10. X plus 9 is 21. And so then X would equal 12. You could also simplify this fraction before you start. Or, there's a number of different ways that you can actually look at and solve a proportion. So we're going to need that knowledge as we move through this unit. So let's do a couple definitions. And again, hopefully some of these should be familiar to you. We are starting out of the chapter here. So similar. Two figures are similar if and only if IFF. So one thing we're looking for is their corresponding angles are congruent and their corresponding sides are proportional. So again, notice it's a biconditional statement, which means if they're similar. So if two figures are similar, then we can assume that those conditions are met. So if this, then these things are true. I don't know why that's happening on my screen. Or the other way around. If we know corresponding angles are congruent and corresponding sides are proportional, then we can conclude that the figures themselves are similar. So, somehow I entered in some text boxes there. So similar figures actually also have to deal with a transformation. Now, we really didn't get into transformations this year, reflections, rotations, etc. But we are going to talk about the last type of transformation, which is a dilation. A dilation is a non-rigid transformation, which means that the two figures, what you start with and then the image, are not congruent. So a rigid transformation means the shape itself just kind of moves or turns or rotates, but the two shapes are congruent. So a non-rigid transformation that reduces or enlarges a figure by a scale factor relative to a point. So a lot of times we talk about dilations in the coordinate plane, which we will get to in class together. And that's why we have it relative about a point. And then a scale factor is the ratio of the corresponding lengths in similar figures. How we refer to a scale factor also depends on which figure we consider the pre-image, the original figure, and which figure we consider the image or the result of the dilation. So depending on that, again, we will talk about what our scale factor will look like when we get to class together. So first, let's just make sure we can apply the definition of similar. If we look at these two pairs of polygons, we want to determine if they are similar and explain why or why not. So again, the first thing I'm going to check for is the angles, because that's the easiest thing to check for. So if I notice, angle A is 120, and so is angle G, or E if you want to use it, and angle C is 120, as is angle E. Those angles are congruent. B and D are congruent. F and H are also congruent. So we have our congruent angles. Then we're going to look at the ratios of the corresponding sides. So when we were working with congruent figures, right, we talked a lot about writing our corresponding parts correctly. So I think that is a skill that we're all familiar with. So for instance, if I want to look at segment AD, and I want to compare it to its corresponding segment in the other shape, again, I remember A to D, it's similar to E to F. It corresponds to E to F. And that's a ratio of 3 to 9, which simplifies to 1/3. Doing the same thing. And again, because it's a parallelogram, right, I know opposite sides are congruent, so I really only have to check the smaller ratio of sides and the larger sides ratio. So then we're going to do DC, and then we're going to put that over FE, and that is 5 to 15, which simplifies to 1/3. So there we have it. Are these figures similar? Yes, because the corresponding angles are congruent and the corresponding sides are proportional. And again, we're backing that up with math. Excuse me. We're justifying our answer there. Let's take a look at this second one. So, we have a trapezoid, and then we have a segment in our trapezoid that is parallel to the two bases, creating another smaller trapezoid. So we're looking at this trapezoid, JKON, and then we're comparing it to our big trapezoid, which I'm actually going to redraw. So I call this a nested figure because it's a shape inside a shape. And a lot of times I like to redraw my nested figures so that I can look at my measurements accurately. So from J to M is 18, JK length 5, KL has length 22, and ML has length 20. So again, the first thing I'm going to check is the angles here. So noting that they're parallel, right? Because of corresponding angle conjecture, parallel line conjecture, angle N and angle M are congruent. All right. This also applies to angle O and angle L. And then J is congruent to itself, and K is also congruent to itself. So that's something, we have the angles. Let's look at the ratios of the sides. So when we look at JN, its corresponding side is JM, and that gives us 6 over 18, also 1/3. All right. And then when we look at JK, JK is corresponding to itself. And when we look at that, kind of interesting, JK over JK is 5 over 5, or 1 to 1. So I can stop right there. I do not have to look at the ratios of the other sides because I do not have similar figures based on just those two corresponding ratios that I've looked at. So does that make sense? Awesome. All right, a couple questions for thought. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video and then answer these two questions and then come back to the video. All right, so are all parallelograms similar? If not, sketch a counterexample. The answer here is no. All parallelograms are not similar. And again, a quick counterexample would be something like this. I mean, you could do a counterexample in a number of different ways. I'm going to take a look at two parallelograms whose one side is congruent and whose other side isn't. So again, looking at the ratios here, these two sides are congruent, so they have a ratio of 1 to 1. This might be, twice that. So this might have a ratio of 1 to 2. So the corresponding sides do not have the same ratio. You could also approach this via angle. Parallelograms do not all have to have the same angle measures. So that would also show you that parallelograms are not always similar. Are all squares similar? The answer here is yes. Okay. And again, the reason why with squares. So we know because squares are regular polygons. all their sides and angles are congruent. So we obviously are going to have the angle condition met, right? All of the corresponding angles will always be 90 degrees. And then because a square has all congruent sides, so let's say this square has length x and this square has length y, no matter who I choose in this figure and write it as a ratio over the other, I'm always going to get the ratio x to y. So yes, squares are all similar to each other. Then one more thing I want to take a look at before I see you in class next is when two polygons are similar, you can find the missing side lengths by setting up and solving proportions or using scale factors. So again, these problems can be approached in many different ways. The most important thing is to, again, figure out who corresponds to who. Now, this is a pretty easy example I gave you because the pentagons are oriented the same way. But once things are rotated or, flipped around, reflected, it can be very, you just have to pay attention, right? So again, what I want to kind of go back over is when we write a statement of similarity, very much the same as writing a statement of congruence, it tells us who corresponds to who. So if I look at the ratios, so HA and segment NW correspond, so their ratio is 6 to 18 or 1 to 3. So I can use that information to figure out the other side lengths. So this means since AP, right, I want to figure out AP first. Since AP corresponds, AP corresponds with WY, and I know WY's length is 24. I could actually set up a full-blown proportion here. Now, I don't think that you girls need to do that for this particular shape, but again, let me just show you how that would be done. So you would start with your given ratio, the one that you know information about. You set it equal to the ratio you're trying to figure out a missing measurement to. Substitute in all necessary values and then solve the proportion from there. Again, I think that you can be a little bit more savvy about this and just notice that for every 1 unit we have here, right, we have 3 units in the other figure. And then that can go vice versa, right? So for every 3 units we have in this figure, we have 1 in there. So if we just take 24 divided by 3, we get 8. And that is going to lead us into the idea of a scale factor, which we are going to tackle in class. So then figuring out the length of segment EI, we would look at SR, so EI should be 7. SN corresponds to segment HE, so SN would be 15. And segment YR corresponds to segment PI, segment YR would have length 12. So there we go. Again, hopefully this is a review, and we will be diving deeper into this chapter when we come back next week. Enjoy your long weekend, and email me if you have any questions.